you're expected to win.
No, and that's where it makes it hard because I mean, in the game like that, you got. For us, you got everything to lose. I mean, that's where. I mean, and that's where. I said those guys. When you play, and I've coached at every level. I've played at Division II, coached Division II, coached in junior college, coached Division I, and there's 351 Division I teams, and there's a lot of bad Division I teams, and there's a lot of really good Division II programs that even the best D1 teams aren't scheduling on their home court. They're staying away from those teams because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Some Division II schools are in better locations to get better players. Sometimes it's better coaching. There's a lot of bad Division I teams, and that's a good Division II team. Now, how many games will win? I don't know, but I go by the eye test, and I go by what we had to guard, and I knew we were going to be in for a little bit of dogfight. That's a team that Weber State, who's right there, picked to win the league. I mean, they were down 5. They lost by 7 to Weber, and so it's that damned if you do and damned if you don't. You bring in a team in here that that you can't remember. Who knows where they're from? You can't spell the name of the school, and then lo and behold, you beat them by 80, and people think hey, all's good. Well, then what? You bring in a little bit better team, and then you run the risk of being in a game like that. And that was, at the end of the day, though, that's good for this team. This team doesn't need a front-running mentality. This team doesn't need to go and beat a team right now by 60 and have a false sense of reality. I mean, we got to keep building as a team. We still got issues as a team that we got to address that by just patching it up by playing a team that's going to come in here and lay down, that's not going to be any good for us. And so for us to have a guard a team like that, who's as hard of a team that we had to guard all year, it might be the hardest team we do guard all year, from an offensive standpoint, just with the ability to shoot it from 4 different spots. I'd say they do a great job of moving the ball. And I thought our guys responded in the second half. We gave them 7 threes in the first half. We wanted to keep the 3-point attempts to 15 for the game. They were 7 for 10 in the first half. They were 1 for 7. 33 3-point field goal attempts. In their last 2 games ago, they went 16 for 32 from the 3-point line. And so, for us to hold them to go 1 for 7 in the second half, I think our guys responded. But I said that's the hard part. You can tell your guys at a team like that, this is what you're going to expect. And until they get into the fight with them, you don't know what you're getting. And then we gave them some confidence early. But good teams like them, they don't need confidence. They're not coming in here scared of UNC. Just like when we go into play in Arizona, we go into play Butler, we're not scared to play those teams. That's not our Super Bowl. Our program's not defined by whether or not we show up and play well in those games. Ultimately our program is going to be defined by what we do in January, February, and March. And we got things that we got to keep working on because we have the potential, to be a really good team at some point in time. But right now we're a good team. And in order for us to be really good, we got to be in some of these fights to where, you see, how adversity is going to affect guys. And, and that's where I thought tonight was a great lesson. And at the same time, by still being able to win the game.
I don't know if you anticipated, I did, but I don't know what situation. They played last night. I'm sure they don't get out of Utah till 10:30 at night.
Well, and they switched the game, so they actually played at home in Gunnison. So now, the RMAC switched the schedule around at the last minute on them, so they actually played in Gunnison last night, which they still had a 5-hour road trip, but then that's also, there's no question, but that's a team that they in their league they have to play on a Friday, Saturday. So, they got to travel from Grand Junction to Silver City. I mean, there's no excuses, and that's also the beauty of that level. Those guys are there to play for the right reasons. They're there to play because they love to play the game, and that's what you saw, a team that loved to play the game. And like I said, I'm a proud alum of the way that team played tonight.
Jeff, is it fair to say that for the majority of the first half, they just basically outplayed you?
Yeah, no, there's no question about that. I mean, that doesn't take any an expert to sit there and see that was a team that was playing harder, playing smarter, and that was, and I said, and our guys, it wasn't like they weren't prepared for that. They knew coming in what to expect. Now, I don't think they expect, and that's the beauty of the way they play is the way the Division I, the way the basketball's evolved is you don't see a lot of teams running motion like that anymore. And so, we're accustomed to, for the most part, playing teams that are going to run a lot of ball screens, a lot of ISO situations. You don't run into that type of motion offense. We won't see that type of motion offense the rest of the season. And so it was a good test for us. We had to change some things we did defensively to minimize some of those 3-point attempts. But that's what we're number one in the country in not allowing teams to shoot the three. And a team like that, even though I don't want them to get 8, but at the same time too, we knew if we would give them 12, 13, or 14, then you got a chance to lose that game. They needed to beat us by making 2s, and that's what we did in the second half.
Well, I think your ability not to turn the ball, I mean, only 5 turnovers combined for your 5 starters. That's taking care of the basketball.
Yeah, and that's what's expected. I mean, our guards are too good not to turn the ball over, and especially the careless turnovers where you're just hitting the ball right into the net. And we're a team that should be, regardless of who we're playing, we should be around 8 to 10 turnovers a game. I'd like to see the assists get up a little bit, and we did it, but to have a positive assist to turnover ratio, is a step in the right direction. But I thought Chaz did a good job of coming off the bench and give us a spark. He did a really good job defensively, and Jonathan Reyes did a good job as well. And so as we move on further into the season, we're going to need some of those guys to help absorb some of the minutes that some of those other guys are playing.
What